In a new piece, a journalist at The Atlantic claimed the president repeatedly disparaged the intelligence of service members, calling fallen military personnel, quote, losers for getting killed. Trump has denied making those remarks, calling it a disgraceful situation.
The story is a hoax written by a guy who's got a tremendously bad history. The magazine itself, which I don't read, but I hear it's just totally anti-Trump. He's a big Obama person. He's a big Clinton person.
So, Rachel, I'll start with you, and I'm just going to put my cards on the table. I think it's awful convenient that this story drops hours after the Trump administration appoints an ambassador to Afghanistan who has affirmatively said he wants to withdraw troops. What do you think?
Well, I think two things. One, this is, again, the tyranny of the anonymous source that has plagued the Trump administration, which I think gets under my skin for a couple of reasons. But the primary one is that, look, all these people, want to stand on principle and squeal on the boss when they think he's doing something wrong, but they don't want the consequences for it. And I am really troubled by, I think, the mainstream journalism that just takes it without any kind of, critical analysis. But I also think you're right. Will Ruger, who has been appointed by the Trump administration, is the real deal. He has for years, he's a veteran himself, and he for years has been talking about getting the U.S. out of Afghanistan, has taken on the neoconservatives in the Republican Party very aggressively. And I think if there's anyone that can do it, it's him. And I think you have the military-industrial complex who's made billions off this war, balking at the thought of actually having to get out. So I do think you're seeing a little bit of a reaction to that.
Yeah.
Colin, there's a lot of detail in this article beyond just saying, fallen soldiers are losers. There's also an allegation that the president did not want wounded veterans in military parades. There was an allegation that when he was visiting the gravesite of John Kelly's fallen son, that he couldn't understand why he wanted to serve the country and, and risk his life in that regard. And look, here's what I'd say. We don't know, we weren't there, all of that on the table, but it rings true when you see what he said about John McCain.
Yeah, I was going to make the same point. I think it tracks with his behavior entirely. I think, first of all, the saying in the military is that we leave no one behind, that no soldier is left behind. Donald Trump doesn't understand that. If you look at the way he's operated his administration, 217 indictments, he'll leave anybody behind if it means he saves himself. He doesn't understand that level of loyalty. He doesn't understand putting things before his own personal profits and or success. And so for him to say that he thinks people who were wounded are losers, I think it tracks with what he said before. It's callous, it's sad, it is disappointing that an American president would even be accused of such a thing. But this is also the same president who, when the intelligence community said that the Russians were paying bounties to Afghanis to kill American soldiers, he had really nothing to say about it. And I think the loss of military support for me tracks along right with that. It's not. I'm sadly not surprised.